Hi, Michael.
Hi, Olga.
It's great to talk to you again. And I really love our conversations. They always make me realize new things.
Good, it works both ways. It does the same for me.
So today we got together to talk about why we do what we do. You with your paranormal investigating and podcasting and all the other things that you do, and me with my shamanic healing practices and soul world adventures. So why would you say that you do what you do, Michael?
So for me, paranormal investigating, I do it because I'm one of those people who likes to understand mysteries and solve mysteries and has a curious mind. And so when you're talking with people who are no longer here, you can get answers to questions firsthand and like understand what life was like maybe back then or why what happened to them happened and get a fuller picture than what the newspaper and news likes to report, because unfortunately sometimes the news and newspapers all slant for a specific bias or specific purpose their stories, and so sometimes they'll embellish or not necessarily tell the full truth, and so it's unlocking that mystery, and that is exciting and fun, and also just getting to experience what it's like to see people and apparitions or hear voices that are communicating with you, even though you're the only one in the area. And so it really works well with building like channeling, actually, because if you're hearing voices there that nobody else is hearing and you're trusting it and able to have these conversations, that's basically channeling, in my opinion. And so it helps build those abilities. And so there's many, many reasons why people do paranormal investigating. But for me, when I come down to the answer that's in my heart and everything, is to keep the history alive and to keep the stories alive. Because in our generation, we know about, Paul Revere. We know about, people in history and what they did, but someday all of these books or everything will disappear and people could be only remembering what somebody told them. And it's like, yeah, it's our way of saying, look, the books may be gone, but here is another way to reach out and try and keep the history alive. And so that's why I do it. And the podcasting I do because I want to promote other people, other investigators, other ideas. And we were talking before we got started when you hit a term that I love to use with the podcast is some of the topics I bring on my shows are what I consider on the fringe of the paranormal. And by that, I mean on the outskirts. It's not normal paranormal. It's not normal either, but it's topics that I feel like need to be addressed and have awareness brought to them. And the beauty of podcasting is they're out there on the net forever, and they're all live. So, for example, when Olga was on the show, we talked about shamanism. A year or two down the road, someone may come across a book and it's about shamanism, and they'll be like, man, I wish I could hear from someone who really does this, what, their benefit, what they got out of, why they do. And they can go and search and they'll find Olga's episode and they can watch it and be like, wow, here is a shaman practitioner.
Well, I'm not a shaman, but okay, yeah, practitioner.
Yeah. But yeah, and so people can, when they get ready to hear the topics, can go back and watch the shows, whether they're mine, someone else's. And the beauty of having multiple podcast shows on similar topics is I may have a guest who talks about UFOs and how they're extraterrestrial and how they're man-made, how they're this or that. And another person will have a guest that says, oh, here's, my take on UFOs. And, they're from underground bases or they're underwater and they can go this fast. And everybody gets a complete picture from everyone and can pick and choose what information resonates with them. And what I mean by that is information that feels true to them. And so we don't, as podcasters, expect you to believe every single idea and word and thought that comes across the show. But we also are aware that, yes, you may not believe in UFOs, but the guest paints it in such a picture that you're like, it is possible. So it's like, yeah, we plant seeds of information for later. And whether they blossom or not is up to the individual. And that's the beauty of the podcasting. So I do podcasts to promote others, promote locations, keep the record alive, and to help people grow and someday maybe become the next podcaster and paranormal investigator.
Yeah. When you say planting seeds, I just felt like, yeah, I think we are in the age of where we don't need to believe so much anymore, as opposed to actually experiencing. I think we're entering in this new kind of age or era or something where the veil of forgetfulness is thinning slowly but surely. Slowly because it makes it more comfortable. Rather than bam, suddenly, I think it would be absolutely destructive, probably. Yeah, so we're entering an age of actually practicing and doing it on our own. And for everybody, they practice it in different ways. For me, it's like a psychic communication. For somebody else, it's something else. Like you go out into the field and you listen, you observe, or however it is that you practice listening. And we all can kind of stop believing each other and can develop our own perception skills and just expand our perception and like kind of like an octopus feel into more and more and more stuff there is out there to perceive. I think we live in exciting times.
We do. And I'm focused right now with the paranormal investigating and podcasting and building a term in the paranormal community called paraunity. And so what that means is building just a paranormal community because, being in a field that's not quite mainstream, but we're working on it. we can create terms. And so we like to put para in front of a lot of words and make it sound more cool. But yeah, para unity in its basic form is just a community to where paranormal investigators, whether you're gifted or whether you're have an ability or whether you're just starting, whether you've been in it for 30 years, everyone's on a level playing field, sharing ideas and helping each other grow. And to me, that's an important thing because I may be sitting and being in a room and I hear a voice, that may say hello. And I'm going to be like, my first reaction is, yeah, I think the quiet solitude of being alone in the room got to me. Maybe I didn't hear that. But when somebody else says, hey, someone was reaching out to you and saying hello, did you hear them? You can get validation of, yeah, I'm not. So, yeah, I do have this ability. I do have this gift. I do have this, connection. And so I can work on it more. But if we don't have people around us that are helping, then a lot of people, I feel like, who have these abilities and gifts discount them because society teaches us, no, you can't talk to the dead. The dead are dead. They're gone. There's no afterlife. You're either in heaven or hell, whatever your beliefs are. But when you have no one supporting you and saying, hey, you may be right, you may be onto something. Yeah, I feel like someone was reaching out to you. That's a huge population in the field that will never know what they could have brought to the field because they were, I would like to say, robbed of their chance because there was no one there to say, tell me more. Tell me, what else did you hear? Was there anything else? Did you hear a door or anything? And so, yeah, so para-unity is really important. And as with family, yes, drama is going to come up. And the only difference is in family, the drama is brought up, dealt with, put aside, and you move forward. Some people I've noticed in watching get caught up in the drama, need to be right, need to, beat their chest, so to speak, or boost their ego, make themselves feel more important. And they're doing it at the cost of others, which I feel is a little bit of a disservice. Well, not a little bit, it's a very big disservice because I've been in paranormal investigating for 5 years, and it took me probably a year before I started trusting what I was seeing and hearing because I took the opinion of I'm new. So I'm going to, put aside my feelings and everything towards those who have been in it longer. And if they say, no, this isn't possible, then I'm going to forget it and say, nope, never happened. That's where the disservice comes in because we don't know what really everyone is experiencing and is open to. And so when we start to tell people, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, again, we're closing off a huge avenue of exploration in the field when we're not even a legit field. And by that, I mean, I can't go to a university and major in paranormal investigating and get a degree in it. It's not a science that's, everyone's like, oh yeah, I did 3 years of study and I got my degree in. But yet we start to feel like, oh, I've seen everything and I know everything. And it's like, no, you don't.
I actually heard somewhere that they are opening programs in some universities in, I don't know how they call it, but maybe it's paranormal, but I know there's for sure something about mediumship, I think. So that, yeah, I definitely heard some universities opening up something like that. Or what do they call it? Out of body experiences.
Right. Near death.
Something like that.
Yeah. There are courses you can take, I've seen, for paranormal investigating. And I've had, friends point them out to me and saying, yeah, you can do a study and get a certificate in paranormal investigating. But that's why I said you can't get degreed in. It's not like a science where, like biology, you can get a bachelor's in biology, master's in biology, PhD in biology, which is what people view as being an accredited science. So that's why I said, yeah, the way I said it was not being degreed in paranormal investigating. Because, yes, I do acknowledge there are some schools offering classes. Haven't taken them, to be honest. And some of us in the field, we jokingly say we should take the class because it'd be interesting to be like in a room full of people who have never investigated, being taught by a teacher, this is how you investigate, and be looking at each other and going, really? That's how you're going to approach that? Because this way works so much better. And so we laugh and going, I don't know if we could pass the class investigating, because we're so used to doing our own methods that it'd be like, I don't know if we could take well to someone telling us this is how you have to do it.
Yeah, I think we're moving away from the boxes, the rules, hard set rules, and we're going into our personal, private investigations of our world in however way we go for it, whether it's in a building with perhaps passed away people or any other kind of soul world experience. I think it's a big part of us, humanity, getting our authority back as to like real making decisions and authority, our sovereignty, personal sovereignty back, because we make the decisions about our perception. Like, what do I perceive? And how do I see the world? And how do I interact with it? Only I can say, actually, what I see. I'm not going to follow a group of people who tell me, no, you're imagining it or you're wrong. I don't need to follow that anymore. So.
All right. And so it seems like a good point to shift things, and your turn, Olga, to answer why you do what you do. And
right. So why do I do what I do? Which is shamanic healing practices, and also investigations into inner world, my inner soul world, and the outer world. So going within and without. And the reason has changed with time and is developing, I realized, because I am changing and because times are changing. So at first I feel that I did it because I was interested in like connecting to my spirit guides, and I learned so much of this. I guess you would call it paranormal stuff, yeah. I was learning so much of esoteric. Read a lot of esoteric books and this and that, everything, before I found my shamanism teacher. Because I had this complete opposite experience of my personal spiritual experiences from the age of 2, like you've from the age of 2 also. I've had it all my life, all these spiritual experiences that were telling me something about myself and the world I live in, which was completely different from what my physical surrounding people told me. Like my parents. Of course, I told my parents what I've experienced, and they would always say, you're imagining it. You're wrong. You don't, something's wrong with you. And then later friends also kind of just laugh it off. So I was really confused. Why am I getting this experience, which seems more real than reality? And this experience, which is trying to say, no, this experience doesn't happen. So I was just trying to find some kind of connection or understanding, why is this happening? And I couldn't find any other people like you. You found other people who can confirm that, yes, I'm also feeling this thing happening. So you guys are like, building each other's confidence that, yes, we're tracking the same thing. So that was the first reason. It was just to make sense of my world, because it was very, very two opposites that didn't mix. That was the first reason I was doing what I was doing. The second reason was when I found my shamanism teacher. After just a few classes, I realized just how much healing there was to do, and still more to do, but I realized just how much healing I needed to do. And that's why I did what I did. I did not want to be a healer. I just wanted to heal myself. And it started this huge adventure into past lives and into my inner world, where I have these emotions and wounds and beliefs and rules. We are such complex beings, and just traveling within and realizing my inner world, like, what am I made of? Why do I think the way I do? Why do I feel the way I do? Why am I scared of these things? And why am I not scared of these things? And just traveling within and changing things, like with the screwdriver, changing things, healing things, going back. I actually, on one of those things, I don't know why I feel like telling you, because you're a paranormal investigator and sometimes you guys talk to passed on people. One time I actually found out that a part of me is stuck as a ghost in a house somewhere far away on this earth. And I had to talk to my own self, part of that self that was stuck in that house, and be very nice to myself and heal the experience that got me to decide that I'm going to get stuck there in that house. I'm never going to leave. And I had to talk myself out of leaving. I mean, out of staying. I told myself to come home back to me. And it's something you can call soul retrieval. So a part of me is stuck somewhere, but I call it back. So, I thought that was interesting, that a part of me is actually a ghost somewhere. So it doesn't have to be the whole soul.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up, because as investigators, we're assuming somebody is there because they're stuck, but there's also the fact that, like, a lot of the pioneers that came through and, settled from the East Coast to the West Coast, they were attached to the land. They were like, this is our land. We're becoming the caretakers of this land. And so they remain, even after they finished their life here, as a spirit maintaining and taking care of the land. That's why we see them and we forget about that, that they chose to attach themselves to the land and, you take on this persona. And so, yeah, and I just wanted, when you said you were stuck, I just wanted to point out that, yeah, there's many reasons why
Of course, yeah.
will be in a house or in a certain location versus, appearing all over the place.
It's only my experience that I was stuck there, and it was for reasons of being hurt and pain, and I didn't have to be there. But yeah, for me personally, I was stuck. But I wouldn't it's beautiful. It's the beautiful thing to let go of assumptions and to one's reason as it comes. Like, hi, what are you doing here? Who are you? What are you doing here? Versus putting rules. Oh, I saw this one soul. It was stuck. Therefore, all souls are stuck as ghosts. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to. You're just limiting yourself in the end in your understanding of the world. And this in this era, we're that's part of what we're doing, letting go of those rules and assumptions and looking at everything with baby eyes again, with new eyes without rules.
Right.
So the reason I was doing shamanic healing was first just to even make sense of the incongruence of my experience of spiritual experiences versus other people telling me that I'm imagining things and I'm wrong or I'm just silly or stupid. Then it was to heal. And now I'm realizing also with the times we're in, I'm realizing that my reason is changing as well. And it's becoming less of a reactive thing, like a reaction to certain things that happen to me. Now it's becoming more of a proactive thing where I'm owning what I do and why I do it, where I'm making my own decision that, look, I'm doing this because I have this desire and it's alive. And this desire is actually, I couldn't frame it in perfect words yet, but it has to do with connecting to self. And the more I do that, the more I can help also other people to do that. And there's an example of, I guess, one of the examples of that can explain this a bit and maybe also touches on the paranormal topic. So one of my examples was there was this kind of out-of-body spiritual experience. I can't put a title on it. But my guides kind of sent me on a trip and a kind of a not homework, but a kind of an assignment. And it was basically to a graveyard, actually, non-physically, like in another country somewhere. And there were some souls that were still wandering around. And some of them were just kind of lost and not even knowing that they're dead. Some of them, I wouldn't say that, but they're kind of maybe even ignoring this fact because they don't know what they're going to do. Some of them were angry. Some of them were flying around trying to get back to their family. So everybody had their different situations. Like you say, it's not like a rule that everybody does the same thing because we're different. But my assignment was to look at the people who were there and help them move on to wherever was the next thing. And the way I did it, I don't know. I don't know how I decided to do this, but I did it intuitively. So I would come to a person. I actually came and I started talking to one of them, and then they all kind of gathered around. And so they were in a lot of distress. Like one lady, for example, she was in distress and she was just kind of lost and in grief over her own passing, but also grief over losing her family. And she was just like, I don't know what to do. And I'm translating with words something that wasn't a word conversation. It's when you speak soul to soul, is just psychic, emotional things. So when I say she said, and I said, and she said, and I said, it wasn't like that at all. It was emotions and everything, which is more. Sometimes we think that it's a limitation that you can't put in words the psychic conversation, but it's the opposite. It's the other way around. The psychic conversation is this rich, while words are this thin, at least what I feel. So we're trying to kind of make it smaller than what it actually is. Like, we don't need to do that. But I was talking to her, and I felt intuitively to search for her light, for her soul, for the place where her soul connects to the all, the unified field. You can call it the divine or whatever you want to call it. And I saw it somewhere here in her, and I saw it as light. And I was helping her. I said, see your light, remember your light, see your light. But I didn't use my words, obviously. I was just kind of guiding her to see her light. I just used the word light or idea of it. And I saw it like kind of first in her forehead. And as I saw it with my own eyes, well, I wasn't there in body, so I don't know what I saw it with, with something, with my spirit.
Your third eye.
Maybe, yeah. When I saw it, she saw it as well. And I feel like it worked like this when I saw it in her, because I wasn't overcome with the grief. I wasn't overcome with the loss. I wasn't overcome with the emotions she was overcome. So I didn't have that difficulty. I just had the love and attention. So for me, it was easier to see her light at that time, not because I'm some kind of elevated being and she's not. I want to point that out. It's not. It's just the fact that she was in distress and I wasn't, that I could see it. And when I saw it, she looked somehow in my eyes, and in my eyes, she saw her own light. And then she was like, I see it now. And she felt it. And she was like, I remember who I am, I remember. And there was such a relief, and there was such a feeling of love and relief of all that distress. And she just went and she just disappeared. And it's like she went like from here, went to wherever. I don't know. I didn't follow her, so I don't know what happened. But I feel like she got back to. I feel like our soul goes like this, and then it connects to the all. But before that, there are also many, many kind of stages of stuff. So she went somewhere there, but she was relieved, and she went up there. And I helped other people to do that. It was a kind of assignment. I'm sure it was for me to learn this about the structure, because I think we all can do it. It's not like certain souls can do it. No, I think everybody can. But there was one person, the one deceased person, he didn't. I couldn't do it for him. He was a teenager, and he was very angry. I actually wrote that whole experience in my book, Tales of the Spirit and the Divine. It was much more detailed there, but I couldn't do it. And the short story version of it is that I had similar distress as this teenager. I didn't heal some of the stuff that he was angry about. And so since I shared that distress, I couldn't see his light. Can you imagine that?
Because it's like the same thing in the paranormal field is, we try to help people. And when people aren't open to it, we just have to step back and just say, okay, when you're open to it, the information will be there. And it's like I said, planting the seed. And so when they're ready, it'll grow. But we can't make people be ready to hear, or we can't make people hear what they're not ready to hear. And so that's, I think, somewhat of the beauty of what we do is we say it, we let it go, and we move on. And will everybody be a success story? Yes. But the definition of success, meaning did we help everyone? The answer is still yes. It may not be in that moment. It may be, like I was saying earlier, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, they'll have that aha moment, or something in their mind will click and they'll say, oh, I remember when I tried to do this with this lady and I was so angry about this, I couldn't see it. But now that I've gotten past this anger, I see it. I understand it. And it's like, there's your success. We don't measure success in the perfect moment of, while we're doing what we're doing. We view the success as, the person will either open up to it or not. It's up to them. And our success is we planted the seed. The information's there. So when they're ready, great. If they're never ready, that's on them, not us. So we're good.
Yeah. I guess even just sitting there with an open heart for a while and showing them that, hey, whatever it is that you're showing them, I don't know, at that time, which is you, it's going to stay there. And whenever they change something within themselves, or like you said, heal something within themselves, that attention that you gave them will have consequence. I guess what I want to say is it will have consequence.
Right.
Sorry, just a sec. I gotta let my cat out. Have you heard him meowing?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay.
But I actually want to take a moment and address one thing, a term that you used. And you have glasses of water in a cupboard?
I have 3 cats. You cannot trust a glass of water without a door. Seriously.
I thought it was funny. I was expecting a water bottle, and instead comes out a glass of water. But yeah,
3 cats. You said term. Something about the term I used?
Yeah, one of the terms. And don't edit this out. That was a great moment for this show. But you said esoteric, and I want to take a moment and address what that means, because I was under an impression of what it meant. And then when I finally looked it up for myself, realized it was not at all what I thought it meant. And esoteric, the word. I honestly, now that I know what it means, it's like I can't remember what I thought it meant. But what it means is just a hidden knowledge. It's not, and so I just want to make that clear because I have an esoteric series that I do, which people can watch or not watch, and I have a passion of when I come across a topic that I find interesting that it's not talked about in history or in normal conversation. I never knew what to call it, and now I know it's called esoteric information. And so I have a series where I devote episodes to talking about the esoteric subject and different subjects. And so that is my personal journey and passion that I do within the paranormal, because there are aspects of the paranormal where even some paranormal investigators will not go because their beliefs aren't there. And that's totally fine, because if we all went to the same places, nobody'd want to really get into the paranormal, because it'd be like, I'm just doing what they're doing. What's the uniqueness of it? But for me, I like to delve into topics in the paranormal, such as like past lives, near-death experiences, portals, dimensional travel, beings, aliens, UFOs. Pretty much you name it, I probably have an interest and have looked into it. Cryptids, I'm getting there. Sorry, folks, I'm still not fully a cryptid hunter or investigator, but I've come across some and shows, and so I do learn from that, but it's not a focus for me yet, but I'm getting there. So just patience with that. But yeah, I find it interesting how we all use these terms and maybe not even fully realize what they mean. And when we do, how many doors that opens. Because when we understand, like, when I understood the term esoteric meaning hidden knowledge, I was like, oh, now I know what to call all these subjects that I've been interested growing up and researching, like Atlantis, myth or not. I'm like, yeah, how do you know where to go with it? And then you realize, oh, now I have a framework that I can work within. And I feel like by calling, it esoteric, you plant into it that, this is not information you can go to the library or go to a newspaper, find articles on. This is going to be information that is personal experience, personal journeys of study. And so it may contradict and it may make you question things, but that's what the good thing about the esoterics is because we don't question a lot of things that we should. And that's what I was hearing with you talking about it. And so, yeah, that's why I wanted to clarify for people is, yeah, even though we're in different fields, we still study esoterics and what it actually means.
Yeah, and I remember you were talking about clarifying history with paranormal, talking to deceased. I feel like it's also connected because, like we say, esoteric means hidden knowledge, and I want to ask, where is it hidden? So I say it's hidden within, and at least this is how I experience it. Okay, and other people may experience differently, but I can connect to. I call it the psychic internet. That's my word for it. And I call my paintings psychic photos. I mean, for fun, but actually, it kind of is. I'm trying to paint whatever I see, which is multidimensional, but I have a piece of paper, so it has to be two-dimensional. So I feel like, where is the esoteric, the hidden knowledge hidden? It's actually there. All you have to do is just connect to it with your own curiosity. Just develop the curiosity. And what I do is I connect within to my curiosity, actually, and to my question. And then I connect to what I call the psychic internet. But anyway, it's just like the field of everything. And you can connect to it, and you can learn whatever it is that is hidden, because it's just hidden from our current perception. That's it. That's how I feel it. And sometimes we hear people talk about there being like secret libraries where all this secret stuff is hidden, and how we are being victims of hidden knowledge, like knowledge hidden from us. And I always feel like, look, just like you are clarifying history with a deceased person because the history that was written was changed for some reason. That's why they call it his story. Like whoever wrote the story, that's his story, right? It's my story. I'm writing it. You want to write your story? Write your own story. But you go to the first person who experienced it firsthand, and you clarify, hey, how did you feel? What was your experience? And by the way, you can also go to the other guy who wrote the story and ask him, how did you experience the same story with this other person, right? And as they say, there's never really only one story to an event. But I'm getting carried away. You can clarify history by talking to the deceased. And I feel that we can reveal any knowledge that may be called hidden. It's only hidden because we didn't look at it at this time, because we didn't develop a curiosity and we didn't investigate enough. But for me, I feel that we can. All we have to do is let go of the assumptions that we can't, and a lot of other stuff, like heal our self-trust and things like that, connecting to ourselves. And the more we do that, the more we can connect to whatever we want.
Yeah. And I also do, though, to piggyback on what you're saying, there's, when people say information is hidden from us, that I've actually encountered some of that where, like, for example, if I was to tell you, giants existed on Earth, a lot of people will say, yes, was Goliath in the Bible. And, it's like nothing really after that. But if I was to say in the 30s, there were giants on Earth, a lot of people would be like, no, there's no way there could be giants on Earth then, because people would be talking about it. Well, the fact is, there were actually giants, 8-9 feet tall. They found bones of them even, but science moves in, takes control of the story and the narrative, and we lose that information because they say, you can't talk about this. People will mock you. You're going to, we won't back you. And so people are going to view you as crazy if you say this story out. So in that aspect, yes, esoteric information is being suppressed from us because it challenges narratives that, people base their careers on and don't want to admit they were wrong. And so that is one of the challenges of, going into the esoterics is, going, what am I going to find? Can I trust what I find? who can I talk to about what I find? Because, like, you know, you and I talk and we talk about certain esoteric subjects and we, you know, support each other and are like, yeah, you know, I see that through this lens and that lens, or that makes sense with this or that. But I can go to a friend from high school and go, yeah, you know, giants were living in America. And they'd laugh and go, no, they weren't. That's just a fairy tale. And so it's like, you know, am I going to, you know, risk friendships and risk, you know, being made a mockery of, and, you know, my name being, you know, put into mud, so to speak. And
well, it's similar if you tell the same exact person that, hey, do you know that you actually lived before? And not only as a human or something like that. I mean, it's not an assumption if you actually connect and you see that they really did. And if you tell them that, hey, this is your whatever, you already lived on planet Earth a bunch of times, they would also laugh at you and they would say you're crazy and whatever, make fun of you. It's also a kind of similar thing, except that what you're talking about is more physical, like actual, like data, like books, purposely, let's say, hidden. But I'm talking about something that is non-physical, like non-physical knowledge that actually it's not hidden. It's available for everybody. And yeah, I would say the key is to develop a curiosity about it. Like when you asked me about the giants and I looked at myself, what I feel about this, I realized that I don't have so much curiosity about it. That's why I never even bothered to look it up or to investigate it, because I'm more interested in other topics to investigate for myself. But yeah, I feel like a connection there. So you're talking about the physical books or physical evidence that has been purposely hidden, and I'm talking about things that are non-physical, but somehow everything's connected anyway. So I forgot my point.
They're connected because our thoughts become, you know, our feelings. And when we read books and read topics, it's like triggers memories. And it's like, oh, yeah, I know about this, but how do I know about this? Because I've never experienced. It's like deja vu, so to speak, is when you go somewhere and you're like, I've been here, but this is your first time there, but you know where things are. How is that possible? It's because it's a memory that's being released through the physical of what you're seeing and experiencing, and you're open to it, versus just reading books and going, yeah, you know, like I can read books on all the countries in Europe. Doesn't mean I'm an expert on them. I haven't stepped foot in them, so I can't really say, yeah, I know about them. I know of them is the reality. But yeah, until you have the experience, you can't unlock. And that's where I think you're seeing the connection between the two is the thought and the experience is the key. They need to be in an alignment for information to flow. And it's like, wait. And all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, the curiosity's there, like you're saying. And if it's there, go with it. If it's not there, then, give it time, or, maybe it was never meant to be a curiosity for you.
But yeah, we're all different souls and we have different kind of paths and journeys that we wanted to take. And yeah, for some, I guess what I'm trying to say is for whoever is listening to this, there's no judgment as to what you're interested in.
And we're just showing, and for me, I just like to point out the reason I'm doing it this way is to point out we're both having the same idea, esoteric, hidden knowledge. But for Olga, it's experiential. For me, it's places or book stuff we've been taught in books that's not necessarily true. And we're missing a whole lot of our history because it's been taken from us because they don't want it in the history books for who knows what reason. We don't know why it's been taken from us. And so that's where the beauty of esoterics and the beauty of the souls and what we do is we're both in the same matter of, gathering information. We just are doing it differently, and that's totally fine. There is no right way, wrong way.
And I feel like we're actually kind of, even right now, if we don't see points of tangency, even because I don't have curiosity for certain things you do, but I have respect for it. And you may not have certain curiosities for what I do. I'm sure you can. I mean, yeah, you don't refute it or something. But I feel like even right now there's a connection, but there's some disconnection, and we think we're doing different things, and we think we're in different fields. But I think we are really all kind of actually doing, I don't know, like different parts of the same thing. Because I feel like right now with the veil of forgetfulness slightly, being released, whatever I'm doing and whatever you're doing is going to help each other in this collective experience of remembering ourselves and reconnecting to ourselves. And whatever you do and whatever I'm doing somehow will help each other. One supports the other. And then I feel like we might find more points of tangency. I don't know how, but I'm just feeling that. I've had actually a vision of that earlier, like maybe a couple of years ago, how there are many, many people on planet Earth, and we may be doing very, very different things. We may be in different fields, but we are all actually united by the same kind of intention for the collective. And we are all also stepping into footsteps of other people who did something before us, who have passed away. So, like, if you're doing your paranormal investigation, it's only possible right now because somebody else did something before you, and they faced ridicule, and they faced something like maybe those people who did, I can't pronounce it in English, seances. Long time, maybe in I don't know when, 100 years ago, let's say they sat together, they got people together and they did sciences. And they were ridiculed. And they were called crazy. And maybe they were, there was violence against them. I don't know. But they did it. And thanks to them having done it, whatever we do today is a bit more acceptable than if those people didn't do their thing. And for us, it's like, oh, maybe that thing wasn't as intense as what we're doing right now. Because if we came with what we're doing right now in those years, we would be completely unacceptable. Completely. But if they did their thing, which was very hard to do for them, and they faced their ridicule and resistance, it's like there are many, many steps, and we're all helping each other, not just at these different fields today, but also in different time frames of everybody was actually helping each other from the past, not just right now.
It's actually beautifully timed that you point that out, because I think it was a couple days ago, I got into a mode to where I kind of was feeling a little shut down and just went into reflective mode and was like, looking at where I am now, what I've overcome, and just seeing, have I grown? How much have I grown? What growth do I have left to do kind of mode. And I realized, as a culture, we honestly, like here in America, we have a day of Thanksgiving to where everybody gives gratitude and appreciation to everyone. Really, one day a year it's the main day it's celebrated. And I was sitting there thinking, going, why do we only do this one day a year? Have a Thanksgiving day once a year. This should be something more common. And I like to, when I'm talking with people, and I'm sure you remember this, Olga, is when agreements are made, like, guests coming on the show, I always like to say thank you for your willingness to come on, and thank you for coming on. And after the episode, I go, thank you for, a fun, great episode. And I always want people around me to feel, and to know how thankful I am. But I get in these reflective modes and I'm like, I say thank you for this or that, but how is it I'm able to do this? What happened that I'm in this position? And I sat down and I went to and I wrote a post to the people who have helped me with the show from conception to where it is now. And I helped the networks who, first picked me up and where I am now. And, guests and saying, without you, I can't make this possible. I couldn't do what I do. And to the people who support the show by watching, or the fans going, thank you. I truly thank you. And I realized, yeah, I was looking back and realizing I would not be where I am today without them paving the way and giving me the confidence. Because the funny story about the podcasting is I was approached probably 4 or 5 months into me investigating with teams and actually physically going to places and investigating to have a show. And I said no, because I didn't feel like anybody would listen to me because I'm so new. Who would I have on even? Who do I know? And then a couple of years later, the same person and I meet up again, and we're doing something. And at the end of the event, he goes and says, I still think you would be a great host of a show. Have you given it more thought? And I was like, I looked at myself and I said, you know what? You're right. And I talked to a friend and we started a podcast show. And then about a year into it, she went her way, I went my way, and everything, there was no bad feelings or, like no drama about it. It was just she was wanting to do a show with the team about, doing certain things. And my show is, on its path. And so we were like, yeah, now's the time, split, go do your show. And I promote her show. And I, every once in a while I'll post about it and saying, hey, make sure you check out this show. And she does the same for me. And the beauty of it is I was just looking, and it's like 1 year, 9 months of podcasting, and almost to hit 200, or not 200, 2 year mark, and 100 episodes. And I realized, wow, and it's 100 episodes of one show, and going, wow, I can't believe I hit that milestone already. And going, and only it's in 2 years. And it'll be a little over 2 years. And I'm like, that's actually quite an interesting accomplishment, because it's like, I look back and I'm like, if you had, the very first day I was approached that you need to podcast, you're going to have 100 shows in 2 years. People are going to love your show. It's going to be a hit. I would have looked at you and
you wouldn't believe it.
Okay. But when we finally feel ready and we're supported, and when I say supported, I mean truly, people have our backs, and you're ready to take on the challenges, because there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be, triumphs. But when you're ready to approach it and not be attached to the outcome, because that's the key, and I think that's the key with your work as well, is we do what we do. And at the end of the day, as long as we did our best, whether it bombed, succeeded, or was flat, or was funny, or was a major hit, we did the best we could. That's all that matters. Because I think there's too many times that, like, piggybacking on your story where you said the one kid was really angry, and that was your one, you view not your success because he was so angry. My reaction was to go, wait a minute though. Why are you saying that's not a success? Because you did what you needed to do. You did the best you could. And you followed through, kept your agreements. You did everything you could do. Why is that a failure? And it's like that's the mindset that I think we get trapped in, because we have certain outcomes that we view as check, success. Oh, that's an X, that failed. Did it though? And that's the problem, is when we start attaching to the outcomes, we miss things. And so that's one of the things too, is I do with shows is, some of them I admit are better than others. I'm more informed on some topics than others, and engage more in some topics than others. But there are episodes to where I feel like, I don't know why I'm doing this episode. It's totally not a subject matter that I really get into, but I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to do it because I said so. And it turns out to be one of the greatest episodes when I'm done with it going, oh my God, I learned so much. Wow, that really, changed my thinking about something. And so I've learned, even I, being aware of not being attached to outcomes, still will somewhat have a little niche of me that is like overprotective of the show and thinking, oh boy, and I'm getting attached to the outcome. And it's not what I think it's going to be. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. What do I tell people? Don't get attached to the outcome. What was I doing? Stop it. And it's a growth. And some days we're successful at it, some days we're not. But that's the beauty of it, is there's always another day.
I think sometimes we, like you said, I didn't want to do this topic maybe, but I promised, so I did, and it was better than you were expecting. It made me think of some stuff I'm not doing too, because I have this belief that whatever I have to share is actually common knowledge already. It's like so obvious, and I'm thinking people say, duh, like, why are you talking about this? But then sometimes I talk to somebody privately about this, and I share with them privately, oh, this and that, about something I explored within myself or realized something through healing or something. They would be so amazed. They're like, oh my God, that's changing my perspective on so many things. Thanks for sharing. When you should make, whatever classes, and you should teach. And I'm like, but that is just an obvious thing I told you. And they're like, no. And also the way you speak also makes a difference about something that is perhaps commonly available out there. So yeah, sometimes we make those assumptions that, oh, I'm going to talk about something that's already commonly out there. But it's like, but maybe you talking about it makes the whole difference. Or your story, how you got there. I don't know. Right. Yeah, well, that's what I'm battling right now.
And one thing I'll say about that as well is, in the perspective of investigations, I'll put it this way, is when I go on investigations with people I've never investigated with, I always will, in the back of my mind, there's this little nugget back there that says, remember, they may be new. You were new once. Mm-hmm. They may not know what you know. And so when they ask me questions that I'm like, yeah, everybody knows this. I don't sit there and go, yeah, everybody knows this. I look at them and I'm like, you're asking me this question. I'm going to take it serious and answer like I would anybody. And I treat it with the same respect as I would someone who's been in the field longer than I have and going, asking the question too. And I think that's the beauty of what we do is, to remember we were there once. We're not there now, but we were once. And so if people are asking this question, they're wanting to get where you are. So you can help them by showing them a way, and it may not be the right way for them in the end, but it at least gets them moving in that direction. And so, yeah, it's like I sit there and I try to view everybody on the same level as if we're entering the building day one, everybody's first day, and answer the questions just like that. Because I don't know who's been in the field how long, longer than me, shorter than me. But in my mind, if everybody's equal, then I approach the question more freely, and my answer is more experiential. And so therefore, more open, and I don't put judgment on the answer. And that's where I think the benefit is. And like with you is saying, yes, this is so obvious. They're going to be like, duh. And maybe some will, but maybe some won't. But by you judging that they're going to do that, you're making the assumption everybody is at the level you're at and forgetting there is square one, the first step. And so I would encourage you, when you had that thought of, going, I could talk about this topic, but it's such a duh moment, going, so is this me now talking now, or is this me talking day one? And if you go, well, this is day one, be like, well, then maybe, yeah, don't go there. Maybe it's not time to go there. But if you go, no, this is me now, forgetting where I was day one, then maybe there's a reason they're showing you to go back to day one and relook at this thought.
Yeah, actually, one of the reasons I actually made my first YouTube video, it was something about how to open your third eye and see spiritual visions, which I don't do it this way anymore. The way I explained it at that time, it was exactly like what you're talking about. I was inspired by the me from day one, having a lot of struggles, trying to connect to my guides. Since I was a teenager, I was trying to connect to my guides. Little did I know that I already talked to them like all the time, but I didn't know that. But as a teenager, I read a lot of esoteric books and other books, and trying to have visions while I was always having visions. But I guess this is confusing, but I tried to have visions in a controlled way. And I worked really hard to do it. And finally I did it. And that's why I made the video, because I thought there probably are people out there. Like, I wish I saw this video when I was maybe 10 years ago. I wish I could click and I could see that video and I could try out these things, and it would have helped me if I saw it 10 years ago. But somehow, I don't always think like that. And it's a good thing to remember that. And one of the reasons I made the workshop on connecting to your guides is exactly that there was a time when I believed that I couldn't connect to my guides. And I wished that there was somebody who would help me. And so that's why I did the workshop. It's to help exactly probably the past me, or people like the past me who couldn't connect to their guides. So you actually helped me to realize why I'm doing this. And I feel like the number one kind of reason is to help me connect to myself, but while I'm doing it, to help others connect to themselves. And that may be different topics, like connecting to your guides, or connecting to your past lives, or connecting to your inner world, or connecting. There's a million things to connect to. And through that, connecting to yourself, like that boy who was angry and I couldn't help him at first, but it's because I had a similar anger in me that he had in himself that I couldn't see past it. But when I healed my thing, I could help him. And in fact, he actually followed me to my physical apartment in Turkey. And for a while, we lived kind of together, and he was kind of there. And we were working through some similar stuff. And when it was healed, he finally was released. And I'm very grateful for him, actually, which at first was a very scary experience. And then later it was just a mutual healing experience. And like you say, gratitude. I was very grateful for this guy being in my life, and for my guides sending me on that assignment, because they knew I will be stuck on this guy. And they knew that he will come back with me to my actual physical apartment where I lived, and we would have to heal together for a while. That was the assignment, kind of. So, yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting when we sit down and we look at, today versus, say, a year ago. One of the big things that I can say that I'm grateful for and that's different for me is because of you and Chelsea. I have now articles have been published in a newsletter online. Never thought I would be published anything other than, a poem that I wrote when I was 16. And thinking, it's not really my thing. But realizing what it meant, and how people are either, gravitate towards it or not, I realized, I can share my experiences, put them to words, and it got me curious to look into like certain holidays that we celebrate. Well, where did they come from? Why do we celebrate them? And yes, those articles tend to be longer than my experiential, because there's people don't realize, we think like, say, Christmas, for example. We think, oh, it only goes back to, say, the 1800s or 1700s. Well, no, it can actually go back to BC. And if you think about BC to current, that's a whole lot of information condensed down into an article. So yeah, it's going to be longer because there's more history to it to explain why we do what we do, why we celebrate what we celebrate, what the true meaning was back then to what it is today. Have we lost focus of what the holiday meant? Or, do we still celebrate it just in a new way? And that's the beauty of what I view those articles as. And I never would have had the gumption to write them or even think about writing them if it wasn't for you and Chelsea and the collective, saying, yeah, we want, to hear this. We want to, you to share. And so I'm grateful for that, because that opened up an avenue of thinking for me that I never really thought, would ever be an avenue for me to even consider. And so, yeah, it's amazing when we look back and actually take account of, who, what, why, are huge questions that really pulls together, who we are. Because, I mean, if I didn't meet you and Chelsea, would I have written articles? Maybe, maybe not. But since I have met you, I have, and I know I can do it now.
And you probably keep writing, like, it's going to be one of the things that you do from now on, periodically.
Yeah, and I actually find myself now monthly going, is there a holiday this month? Maybe I should write an article about this holiday and, file it in my website. And when the website's up and running, send it over to Chelsea and be like, hey, here's another one for you. Or, just personal thought, article going, yeah, now that I've gotten curious on these holidays, here we go. Here they are. And just keep it going. But yeah, we forget when we reach a certain point, somehow, for some reason, we just naturally start to feel like this has always been, this is, the way it is. And we forget to take stock and go, wait a minute, why are we here? Who helped us get here? What helped us get here? And so that's an important thing that I think, if anything is taken from like today's talk, that we're talking about, one of the key things is always remember where, why, and who helped you on your successes and your failures to today. Because even your failures are successes because it taught you another way. So you can't discount your failures and be like, I've failed, so I'm going to quit it. No, it just means that wasn't the right way.
Yeah, one of the things I thought wasn't very successful I was doing is sometimes I think like that. My runes project. Maybe I don't know, but now I'm changing my mind about it. Like you said, it wasn't really a failure because I'm actually using that experience to write another book on the runes and my experiences of the runes. And again, it's always done with that focusing lens of connecting to yourself. And now it's just getting very interesting because the more I do my shamanism practice and everything else that I do, I meet more and more interesting people like you with your paranormal investigation, Chelsea with the dream analysis. I met a girl called Shruti Jayavanakumar. She's a Shakti priestess from New Delhi, from India. I'm meeting very, very different people from different walks of life, and I'm inviting them to participate with me. Like I invited you recently for the next rune to connect to this energy. And I feel like there are never any coincidence. What do you call it? It's never a coincidence. It's always more of a synchronicity of why this person joined for this rune. So it's a bunch of people connecting to this one energy and learning its wisdom and learning what is it, connecting to Odin, which may sound like a crazy thing to somebody. And it used to even sound crazy to me until I actually connected to Odin and started working with him. For somebody, it's just a fairy tale, It's a fairy tale character from a myth. But when
right about that.
But when I actually invite people and I ask him to actually work with them and help them and do whatever it is that's appropriate for them. When we get together in the video, we share our experiences of this rune, of this energy. Something happens. Something happens where we're kind of speaking the same language or speaking the same energy. I can't explain it in my physical words, what happens. But what happens is that we realize that we have connected to something that is actually real and is so kind of, it's wordless, but it is kind of like this. And we use a number of different words to describe how we saw it. And there was Jeanette, actually, from our runes video. She said it very, very nicely. She said, we're all touching the elephant from different parts. And we don't, but we're all what was it? But so somebody says like, oh, I feel that it's wet, because we're touching the trunk. or I feel that it's hairy because we're touching the leg with like fur. It has hair. Or I'm feeling, it's hard because you're touching the tusk. So everybody describes this energy in this way. And thanks to everybody describing all these parts of it, we can all feel the essence of the elephant. If you know what I mean, the essence of that energy. And I love to just kind of show people that, look, you can connect to whatever you want. Right. In this, for example, for this talk, we connected to a rune, but you can connect to whatever you want. You connect to your soul. You can connect to the soul of somebody else. You can connect to the divine, the all. You can connect to anything that you ever develop a curiosity for. And I feel like it's going. I was just laughing. I was inviting somebody else today, and I thought that I'm very grateful that all these very random people from the random walks of life come together for my talks. And it almost sounds like a joke, like a rabbi, a priest, and a horse walk into a bar. What's going to happen? For me, I was writing to a person today. I said, who are the people going to be? Oh, yeah, there's going to be a shamanic healing practitioner like me. There's going to be Shakti priestess from India. There's going to be a paranormal investigator. There's going to be this, there's going to be that. And I thought it sounded like a joke. Like a rabbi, a priest, and a horse walk into a bar.
One heck of a nightclub.
Yeah. But everybody can connect. Like, everybody is really in different fields. Fine. But nobody said that we can't see eye to eye. And I really love that aspect of it, where we don't have enough curiosity to go into each other's fields because we have our own curiosities. But just because we don't have enough curiosity for somebody else's field doesn't mean we can't connect on something, some kind of points of tangency. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we never know, there may be some shamanic healing practicing methods that you have that I can use in what I'm doing. And the same with Shakti, the same with runes, the same with, all kinds of subjects. We never know what will help us and what won't unless we're willing to take a step. And like you were saying, now that, people can do this, they can do all these others. Like, what the thought that popped in my head was, doing the rune exercises, like putting your toe in the door. Now that the door is cracked open, it's up to you where it goes. Everything is now available. The door has been cracked open. It's
And
no
like you
longer
say,
or that you're like, what's behind here? How do I open that?
and like you say, it was so important for you to meet other people who can also look at the same thing and tell you, you're not crazy. I'm also feeling the same thing. This is an environment where everybody's connecting to the same thing. And we have people, actually physical people, right, in Zoom, but physical people somewhere in this world who are telling you that, yes, they have connected to the same thing. And they're telling you that they also felt it, but they felt it differently because they are different. They're looking at it from a different perspective. But you feel that, I'm not crazy. I actually connected. I actually am not crazy. I actually can do this. What else I can do? What else I can do from now on? So, that's.
And one of the funny things about, being a paranormal investigator that I was talking with a bunch of other people that kind of cracks us up right now is it used to be when you would walk into a store or walking around in a park or something and somebody would go, well, what do you do? oh, I'm a paranormal investigator. They would like slowly like walk away. Now it's like people are like, really?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you do this. So how do you do this and that? And it's so funny to be sitting there going, wow, people are really interested now in our field and what we do. And so there's a certain amount of care that we need to take with that so that, we don't mislead people. And that's one of the beefs that I have with the paranormal TV shows is they paint a picture that, yes, it's true, but it's not the whole truth. And so people have a misnotion of what we do and how it works because of the shows. But at the same time, because of the shows, people are curious about what we do. And so it's like, I like to call the double-edged sword. It's like, it's a benefit and a not so benefit. But one of the things that I'll share with you, along the lines of why do I do what I do, was when I first started investigating and, getting in the field, I had the notion that I didn't want to be forgotten, that I wanted to leave a mark. And I felt this was a place I could leave a mark and like a legacy, where, what I did and what I contributed will go beyond my life and in a positive way. And I was like so focused on that I was like, going and collaborating with people, going in to events and doing like over 100 investigations in 3 years because I was like, gotta leave a mark. So what's the best way to do that? Be seen, be this, and it was driving everything. And I was on a phone call with the owner at the time of the network I was on, and we were talking about something, and I said, he's a dear friend of mine, and I said, I'm struggling right now because I don't want my name attached to something that is negative. And that's why I'm really cautious on the shows and why I'm always this or that. And he I could hear him laughing on the other side of the phone. And he goes, well, Michael, everybody knows your name. You're not going to be forgotten. Your shows are, out there. They're always going to be out there. So you're always going to be remembered. And he's like, you have left a mark, and everybody you've investigated with, you've left an impression, and everybody I talked to loves you. There's, all of this and that. And I realized in that moment, I started laughing, and then I go, well, then I don't have to stress anymore. Since I've already accomplished all of those goals that I wanted, I can just have fun and let go now. And he laughed and goes, good. That's where we want you to be. And there was like
let go of the what did you say? Let go of your expectations.
Yeah.
Outcomes. You said outcomes. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't attached to the outcomes anymore because I realized everything that all the goals I had set for me for the shows and everything were already reached. And it touches my heart when I talk to friends up north in America and on the East Coast of America that my name, gets talked about in praise, and I'm like, really? I'm like, wow, people are talking about my show. That's really cool. And people look out for me on my show and, make sure, if they know something about something I don't know about, they bring it to my attention, and we have respect of knowing I'll take it to heart and act what's in my best interest, and I feel the best interest of the show. May it be, acting on what they said in one way versus another. But in the end, it's like, I know it's their opinion from their experiences, and I have to look at mine and go, is it worth it? And if the answer is, if I'm like, I really don't know, or no, it's not worth it, I don't do it. But if I go, well, you're saying this, but I feel like there's a reason I got to do this show, I'll still do it. And, they respect me for that. And they know I'm listening and taking it to heart. And that, in the end, it is my show. But there is that mutual respect and mutual appreciation and friendship there that, we listen to each other, we help each other. And that's another goal of the Para-Unity. And it's so great to have that, because there's no way I could know every single person in the field, who's doing what. And so, especially, not in my area. If it's in my area, I have a pretty good idea. If it's not in my area, I'm at the whim of, whatever, I'm like, they have a lot of followers. Well, I may get some followers from having them on. Okay. Or, they may have an experience that I'm like, that one experience, that's the only experience I want to talk about. The rest of it, not really interested in, or I just don't know about. And so, yeah, it's amazing how when you let go and you don't focus so much on, achieving things and focusing on, I have to do this, this, and this, and realizing it was done before you really probably even got started, that, yeah, people will, it's just a freedom there, and the connections, like you were saying, that you never saw being there, are all of a sudden lighting up and going, wait a minute, I never thought this person would say to me, hey, I respect you, and, maybe you don't want to have this person on, or you sure you want to talk about this subject matter? And going, yeah, thank you. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, your great gratitude. I wanted to mention that, that what I was taught by my teacher in shamanism, we can't, like you say, why are we grateful only once a year, right, on Thanksgiving? What I've been taught by my teacher, one of the rituals that I do non-physically is doing something called forgiveness, letting go, and gratitude ritual. And I practice that with souls of people, let's say with every client's soul for sure, and before I want to talk to them about anything. And sometimes after we had a conversation, I don't know, you just get a feeling. I just get a feeling. So there's something that is like an ongoing thing where I practice forgiveness, even if it's the first time I meet this human being in this physical world. We may have had other interactions before this life or something. Our ancestors may have had interactions. They may have something to forgive, forgiveness, letting go of stuff that happened and maybe still hanging somewhere in the between us as bad business or some beef, as you call it. And gratitude for everything, gratitude for even having having known this soul, having interacted with the soul, having learned from the soul, having experienced mutual forgiveness, and having been able to let go of something, because letting go is not easy, as you may think. So yeah, I just want to say in shamanism, this is a very common practice, which you do again and again and again and again with the same soul, if you want to, whatever is your feeling, especially with your family members, because they're like your biggest big karmic, a lot of the times, like hardcore lessons, karmic lessons. You can practice forgiveness with them every day. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And but I want to say that, it's actually a thing in shamanism that is a very much an everyday thing, and even maybe more than that thing. So you're using shamanism even without knowing that. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah, a great example I can share with you on that is, talking about past lives. And, a lot of people, may or may not believe in past lives. But I challenge you to look at it this way. When you meet someone or you're interacting with someone and your mood goes from happy, jovial to anger or upset or hurt, when nothing has actually happened, that's a past life connection that is come up to be healed. And it's the universe's way of showing you now is the time. That's why this person's being brought in. It's not, to make, you buddy, and saying, you have to overcome, why you don't like this person right now, because it may not be something right now. It's something of a past life. And the beauty of it is we don't need to understand why we're feeling that way. That used to be when I was taught metaphysics, everybody would want to know the why. Why is this coming up? Why am I, needing to work on this? Why do I, why? And now I find when I meet people and that happens and there's a past life connection, I just look at it and go, you know what? You've done nothing to me right now to warrant this. So this is either a past life or I'm empathically picking up on you. And empathy doesn't seem to be resonating with me as to why this situation is the way it is. So I'm going to go with the past life. And, I thank you for bringing this to my attention. And I thank you for, showing me that I'm upset with you and it's most likely nothing to do with you right now. And I own that. And I'm willing to let the past go and move forward. And you either do or you don't. But we don't need to know the whys anymore. But, we can just acknowledge what it is, heal it, move on. That may be my personal healing technique that works for me, may not work for everybody, but that's the beauty of how, you were saying, we don't know how you being shamanistic healing practitioner, me being paranormal investigator, how we connect thread-wise with things. And it made me think about, as a paranormal investigator, I look at past lives. Not a lot do, some do. And, And so that's a way I viewed like, yeah, there is a connection between what you do and what I do. Is, we can look at the situation, look at what it is, and in that moment, be able to put it aside if need to do the investigation and, accomplish what we're there to accomplish. And there's no harm in saying, yes, I have a past life beef with you. Yes, I need to address it, but I'm not going to address it right now. I'll address it when we're done. And that's totally fine. It's not going to affect anything. But you also, though, have to be aware how you're reacting to the situation.
Yeah, and nothing is ever a one-way communication. It's I can't even go into it, but there's so much stuff flying around. There's so much energy. There's all kinds of beings, and there's stuff that's mine that's affecting how I perceive things. I would say that it only depends on how curious you are to discover it. And you don't have to be curious to discover all of it. Like you said, I don't need to know why. You don't need to. You're right. You don't need to. And for somebody who's constantly asking why, they have that curiosity, and I'd say they have a need, they have a desire to explore something, what they keep asking, why. So it's likely that in their lifetime, they'll answer those why questions if they're always so loud in their head. We have different paths and desires and interests and journeys in our lives, but it doesn't mean that we can't come together and have mutual experiences where our curiosities do align for something. And that's like a lighting up of connection, I guess, in a visual representation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess not only did we answer a question why we do what we do, but for me, I know that I've explored deeper into why I do what I do. And I learned a lot from you and got a lot of motivation and pep talk. Like, I feel more motivated and more, I guess, aligned to what I'm doing. And I want to say thank you. Because that was not just fun. That was me going deep within myself and reconnecting with myself, actually. And remembering a bit of why I do what I do. So I'd like to thank you. I'm very grateful.
Well,
I am now grateful for you.
Well, you're welcome, man. I have to say, in talking with you, and it brought up things I had not thought about in a while either. So I'm grateful for that, to see that, yeah, the way I reacted to certain things has changed. And the way I, remember things and remembered, what I'm grateful for and why, yeah, is really important and is a blessing. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I also learned to say you're welcome from my teacher, actually, to own that, okay, yeah, you did indeed do something nice. Okay, say you're welcome instead of saying, oh, it was nothing, or, oh, like rejecting things,
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to be grateful. It's okay to say thank you. It's okay to say you're welcome. Yeah, I feel like even those little things, they are adding to our freedom and self-awareness. Like, oh,
And
I'm free to do
actually,
this.
I just thought about, while you were saying that, the word your, Y-O-U-R, is such a cool word because it's two words in one. There's you.
You are. Mm-hmm.
And there's our.
Oh.
As your. So it's like we're saying you, welcome. our welcome. Put it together, you're welcome. Everyone's welcome. I just thought about that.
I like that. Yeah. Why not? And maybe it does have something. I don't know. But if it came to you right now, it's in your energy field and it's something you're receiving right now, like a realization that satisfied a curiosity, I guess.
Yeah. I now have a reason why I say your so much. It's my way of saying you and our. Huh.
Nice. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we covered a lot, and I look forward to the next one.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I love these talks. I don't know what they are. I don't know where they're going, but they're cool. And I like them.
And I love how we don't even script to what we're going to talk about until zero moment. And it's like, yes.
It's natural. Yeah. And if you guys watched till the end, thank you guys so much. Check out the links in the comments and in the description boxes. And see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.